Okay guys, so it's 21st of June, Father's Day, and we've been at Pandy since about 10 o'clock in the morning. It's now about 3:30, about 31 degrees heat. You can see straight away getting into the video, there's a cloud just forming above Pandy Hill. It's been such a difficult day that I've just had enough. I'm going to fly down to the bottom, go back to my van, get some dinner or late tea and make a decision of what I'm going to do. Luckily, as I take off, there is a little bit of lift. It's about 1.1, 1.2. To my amazement, I do a 360 and I actually stay in it, and I'm like, okay, this could work. And there's several people on the hill who've been, again, same as me, sat there since 10 o'clock cooking in our thin shillet jackets, and we're all a little bit frustrated that the day's not switched on into the 4-star, 5-star that we're all predicting. So really I'm just trying to work this, and really, because it's the first flight for me for the day, is work out where it's tracking. Now, there was a slight breeze coming up the hill, which we thought through the weather forecast was the easterly wind that was predicted. However, it turned out that actually the wind was southerly, about 4 miles an hour, and that's why really we've missed most of the thermals, because they were in the far end of the ridge of Pandy. As you look out of Pandy to the right, they were hitting their releasing, and I think we were just getting some of the thermic air coming up the front of Pandy. Quite frustrating really, because I've been seeing one specific area where a cloud had been growing, dying for about 15, 20 minutes, and I thought something was wrong, but I never did anything about it. So as you can see there, I think it got me 300 or 400 foot above the hill. Not a lot, but when you've been sat there for 5 or 6 hours, that was actually quite refreshing. And also on the track, I am slowly moving down the ridge sort of to the northern side, to that corner behind me now. Very wary, again, not really understanding what the thermal was doing, and because it was so weak, there was no way I was going to go over the back. So I just kept working with it. Again, I'm looking up there, and actually what I'm looking up at is where the cloud that was there is dying, and it's dying fast, but there's still just little traces of lift going up into it. We've been sat on the hill for quite a long time, as I mentioned before, and we've been talking, there's a brown field out front of Pandy, and we've been talking, it must be working, it absolutely must be working. You can just see it on the bottom left of the picture there. So once I get to a point where I'm either going to start going over the back or I push forward, then that first thing I want to do is I want to go check this brown field out that we're all convinced is going to be absolutely booming. I may have made a mistake here, maybe I should have followed this, as it was the first thermal in 6 hours. You can see the sky though, the cloud has got absolute zero energy in any of it, it's just dormant. So at this point I start moving forward, and straight away, like I said, I'm going to go for this brown field. So as soon as I come out of that thermal, I'm now in sort of 2.5, 2.7 metre sink, and instantly through flying I'm thinking, well, if it's 2.5, 3 metre sink virtually, there must be something that's causing that. So straight away I'm like, I'm fully committed to this brown field. In retrospect, what I should have done is pushed down the ridge to the right and and gone searching on the front of the slope on the opposite side, right down the bottom of the ridge. But at this point I'm just totally fixed on getting on this brown field, and I'm losing a lot of height. Probably a little bit of target fixation, to be truthful. Shane's saying something to me on the radio, and again, I'm pretty much just starting to come over edge at field now, I think. And again, it's 2.5, 3 metres sink. And I'm just saying to Shane there, yep, it's definitely not booming. I'm going to now head on to my next target. And really, as I said, I'm sort of accepting this is a top to bottom into landing area. So my next target, I'm thinking, is the 2 yellow fields in front of the pod now. Well, I'm going to go for the right one. And the reason I'm going for the right one is just on the tip of the pod there is a tin shack in that corner, a metal tin shack. And I'm like, surely if that field's holding all the heat and hitting that tin shack, it's got to be a release point. Just in that corner, you can just see it in this closest corner. So that's the next target. And once I get over that corner of the field, it actually starts to work a 0.4, 0.6 metre a second climb, which I probably spend 3, maybe 4 minutes there. And you'll see me in a second. I do actually start messing around with the Vario with my Air 3, and I do cheat a little bit. I switch it onto my thermal finder just so I can have a little bit of better idea of where this real weak thermal is.
It's been a few years since I looked in the mirror.
You can just see on the wing movement there as I just roll into that, but like I say, it's so weak. But it's definitely, in my opinion, coming from the corner of that field. So I just think, you know what, it's worth spending a bit of time on. I'm only going to land anyway, so, and I love these real small thermals that you have to really work to stay in. And I actually gained 54 feet. Which 54 feet in 3 minutes is not a lot at all, but that just shows you how weak it was. Again, for those lesser experienced pilots, it's all about just keeping the wing as flat as I possibly can. You'll see my right hand is just above the carabiner, and actually then looking at that left hand, it's very similar. Weight shifting in that harness, which is quite difficult in the Forza. But I'm just trying to keep everything as smooth as possible so I don't lose any height. At this point I actually thought the thermals were starting to build a little bit of power in it, but again I go back into what I think is the central point of it, and it's a 0.6 metre a second climb. You can see here I think it may have moved slightly, so I actually go into a left turn into it just to try and bring me back onto it. And as mentioned, I gained 54 foot, which on today's conditions was 54 good foot. And then at this point I recognise I'm not going to get anything else out of it, so I'm still just slowly going back towards that landing field. So the landing field's just slightly out to my right. So my next target, I'm thinking, is the farmhouse, which again is just on the end of the pod. You can see that now. And behind that farmhouse, if I've still got enough height, there is about several houses, and I think that's my second target after the farmhouse if that doesn't work. And I'm sort of really desperate now. I say desperate, I've accepted the fact I'm going to land. So this is just about extending every second I can out of this flight. Again, all the time here, I'm looking for any indication of lift. So I can see birds down below me. Is there any movement? Is there any sort of imprints in the cornfields of thermals coming through? And like I say, this is the one only thermal I got in 6 hours, so it's sort of a done deal, but we can always try and stay up as long as we possibly can. The farmhouse gave me nothing, so I'm going to this sort of, again, I don't know if it's a bigger farmhouse or a couple of houses, and you can see landing area just at right at pod. And I'm looking at all the trees. Is there any movement in the trees? And at this point I'm also assessing what the wind stress doing. So I was actually doing about 27-28 kilometers an hour here, so I know that I'm facing into wind, so I also know which way I need to land when coming into that landing field. So what I'm not going to do is make a last minute decision, which I have mentioned in videos before. I like to know exactly which way I'm going to land, so I don't want to be doing a downwinder. At this moment here, I actually saw a kestrel thermaling below me. Now obviously kestrel's a super small bird, but I thought, okay, let's just do a couple of 360s and see if I can get anything out of it. And I was sort of maintaining, but I'm also wary of these three trees that have just come into picture there, that if I'm behind them low, and the ground winds are doing, as I mentioned, about 10 kilometers an hour, so 6 miles an hour, the last thing I want to be doing is going behind these trees low. So I'm just I'm weighing it up. Is there anything here? Is there anything to latch onto? Is this a real low save? And then at this point I'm like, okay, let's now really start thinking about going into the landing pattern and getting that correct. You'll see in a moment, the foot comes out, make sure that it's not tangled in anything, and that's my decision now that it's time to think about landing. Got the hedgerow in front of me, loads of height. So as on every landing, just a slight little bit of lift. You can see the wing rock back in a moment. So then I roll out the front of it, quite a fast landing, lots of waiting around, but I guess it's a 16-minute flight.